Pause what you're doing right now, because what you're about to discover in the next several minutes might fundamentally change how you think about your health in the second half of life. This isn't hyperbole or clickbait. It's information that many healthcare providers simply don't take the time to discuss with patients over 50. Not because it's unproven, but because there's no prescription pad involved. No pharmaceutical company is funding awareness campaigns about this. What we're talking about is a category of lifestyle interventions backed by groundbreaking research from Stanford University Medical Center, a comprehensive study published in 2023 that tracked over 98,000 individuals across 3 decades. The findings revealed that a specific constellation of daily practices can slash overall cancer risk by as much as 58% in people who've crossed the 50-year threshold. 58%. These aren't experimental drugs or invasive procedures. These are accessible, actionable habits. And today, we're breaking down the 5 most powerful components, ranked from effective to genuinely game-changing, so that by the time this video ends, you'll know exactly where to begin tomorrow morning. Here's something crucial you need to know up front. The number 1 habit on this list is something nearly 85% of people over 60 get completely wrong, and emerging research suggests that correcting this single mistake could potentially cut your cancer risk nearly in half on its own. So please, don't skip ahead. Watch this through to the end because the sequence matters. Each habit amplifies the one before it. But before we dive in, let me ask you something personal. Drop a comment below telling me your age and whether a healthcare provider has ever sat down with you to discuss cancer prevention, not just screening. Every comment matters here. Your responses genuinely shape what content gets covered next on this channel. So take just 10 seconds and share your experience. Alright, let's get started with number 5. Number 5 is something most people dismiss as too basic to matter, and that dismissal could be quietly undermining your health. We're talking about strategic morning hydration, specifically consuming 16 to 20 ounces of filtered water, either cold or room temperature, immediately upon waking, before coffee, before breakfast, before checking your phone. Now, before you dismiss this as obvious, listen closely, because the biological mechanism behind this is remarkable and deeply tied to aging physiology. After age 55, something called interoceptive thirst sensitivity begins to decline. That's medical terminology for a simple truth. Your brain becomes progressively worse at signaling when you need water. Research from Johns Hopkins Medicine in 2020 demonstrated that adults over 65 operate in a state of chronic mild dehydration, roughly 10 to 15% below optimal cellular hydration levels, without ever experiencing thirst. Why does this matter for cancer? Your lymphatic system, think of it as your body's internal waste management network, collecting damaged cellular debris and broken DNA fragments, operates almost entirely on water-based fluid transport. When you're chronically dehydrated, this waste removal system slows dramatically. Damaged cells accumulate, inflammation escalates, and chronic low-grade inflammation is now recognized as one of the primary drivers of cancer initiation, particularly colorectal, bladder, and renal malignancies. Research from the Nurses' Health Study at Harvard demonstrated that women who consumed more than 6 glasses of water daily had a 41% lower risk of colon cancer compared to those drinking 2 glasses or fewer. That's extraordinary for something that costs essentially nothing. For aging bodies specifically, proper hydration also supports autophagy, your cell's self-cleaning mechanism. Think of autophagy as a quality control inspector inside every cell, breaking down damaged components before they can mutate. After age 65, autophagy efficiency drops by approximately 30%, but adequate hydration has been shown to partially restore this critical function. Here's how to do this right. Keep a 20-ounce glass of filtered water on your nightstand. The moment your feet hit the floor in the morning, drink the entire glass before anything else enters your system. Add a squeeze of fresh lemon if you like, because the D-limonene in lemon peel has its own anti-tumor properties we'll touch on later. And here's your synergy tip for this one. Pair your morning hydration with 10 minutes of gentle movement, even just walking around your home, because movement stimulates lymphatic flow and can boost the cellular cleansing effect by up to 35%, according to research from the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. That's number 5, and it's your foundation. But what you add at breakfast could be even more powerful. Let's talk about number 4. Number 4 is a food category consumed for millennia in the world's longest-lived populations, dismissed for decades by Western medicine, and now the subject of over 120 peer-reviewed studies on cancer prevention. We're talking about naturally fermented foods, specifically options like plain yogurt with live cultures, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, and miso. In 2022, a breakthrough study from Stanford School of Medicine, published in Nature Microbiology, found that adults who consumed fermented food-rich diets showed dramatic increases in microbiome diversity and measurable decreases in 18 specific inflammatory proteins, several directly linked to cancer progression. But this becomes especially critical after 50. Past age 60, something called intestinal permeability increases. The lining of your gut becomes literally more porous, a condition sometimes termed leaky gut. This allows bacterial toxins called lipopolysaccharides to enter your bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation that acts like fertilizer for precancerous cells. Consider the case of James, a 69-year-old retired teacher from Denver, Colorado, who came to a preventive medicine clinic with chronically elevated inflammatory markers, persistent fatigue, and a strong family history of pancreatic cancer. His diet was relatively healthy by conventional standards, but he consumed zero fermented foods. The clinic added 2 daily servings, kefir in the morning, a small portion of sauerkraut at lunch. Within 3 months, his C-reactive protein levels, a key inflammation marker, dropped by 42%. His primary care physician was stunned. James reported feeling more energetic than he had in a decade. The mechanism here works through compounds called short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate, produced when beneficial gut bacteria ferment fiber. Butyrate literally signals precancerous cells in the colon to enter apoptosis, telling them to self-destruct before they can cause harm. Think of butyrate as a security guard quietly escorting troublemakers out before any damage occurs. Aim for 1 to 2 servings of naturally fermented foods daily, unpasteurized, because heat processing kills the live cultures you need. Look for live and active cultures on the label. Your synergy tip here. Combine fermented foods with prebiotic-rich foods like garlic, onions, or slightly green bananas, because prebiotics feed the beneficial bacteria that fermented foods introduce, dramatically amplifying the protective effect. Number 4 is powerful, but number 3 is where the science becomes truly extraordinary. And if you're finding this information valuable so far, this is a great moment to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Evidence-based health content for people over 50 gets published here every week, and your support makes this work possible. Now, number 3. Number 3 is something you've almost certainly heard about, but I promise you haven't heard it explained this way, and you're almost certainly not doing it in the manner that actually activates its cancer preventive effects. We're talking about daily walking, but not just any walking. We're talking about what researchers now call metabolic walking. And the difference between a casual stroll and metabolic walking could literally be the difference between feeding cancer and starving it. Here's the science. Your body runs on 2 primary energy systems, glucose and oxygen. Cancer cells, due to a metabolic quirk first described by biochemist Otto Warburg in the 1920s and confirmed by hundreds of subsequent studies, rely almost exclusively on glucose. They're remarkably inefficient at using oxygen for energy. This means that when you engage in sustained, moderate-intensity physical activity, the kind that elevates your heart rate to about 60 to 70% of maximum, you accomplish 2 remarkable things simultaneously. You deplete circulating glucose, starving cancer cells of their preferred fuel, and you flood your tissues with oxygenated blood, creating an environment actively hostile to cancer cell survival. A 2021 meta-analysis from the National Cancer Institute reviewed data from 1.6 million adults and found that regular moderate physical activity was associated with a 39% reduction in colon cancer risk, a 35% reduction in breast cancer risk, and a 24% reduction in lung cancer risk, even among never smokers. These are extraordinary numbers for something requiring no prescription. But here's where aging-specific biology becomes critical. After 65, your mitochondria, the tiny power generators inside your cells, decline in both number and efficiency by up to 40%. Mitochondrial dysfunction is now understood as a key driver of both aging and cancer progression. Sustained moderate walking is one of the few proven interventions to stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis, literally signaling your body to create new, healthy mitochondria. Think of it as installing a fresh fleet of power generators in every cell. Metabolic walking means 30 to 45 minutes of continuous walking at a pace where you can still hold a conversation, but would find it slightly difficult to sing. This should happen at least 5 days per week, and ideally in the morning before your first full meal, because fasted state movement significantly amplifies the glucose depletion effect. Let me tell you about Catherine, a 74-year-old retired accountant from Seattle, who came to a wellness program 3 years ago following a cancer scare. She'd had a precancerous polyp removed during routine colonoscopy. She was terrified and completely sedentary. The program started her on a morning walking protocol, 40 minutes, 5 days weekly. Combined with dietary changes, her 2-year follow-up colonoscopy showed nothing, completely clear. Her oncology team specifically noted her dramatically improved inflammatory markers and called her recovery exceptional. Catherine said walking felt like medicine. She was right. It literally is. For synergy, combine your morning walk with your morning hydration from Habit 5. And if possible, walk somewhere with natural light, because morning sun exposure regulates your circadian rhythm, which in turn governs immune surveillance, your body's cancer detection system. The combination is far more powerful than either element alone. Number 3 is remarkable, but the next two are where things become genuinely revolutionary. Number 2 involves something you eat, and the way it fights cancer after 50 is unlike anything else in nutritional literature. Here we go. Number 2 is a compound, actually a family of compounds, found in a very specific category of vegetables. And the research on its cancer-fighting mechanism in adults over 50 is some of the most compelling science in preventive medicine. We're talking about sulforaphane, the potent bioactive compound found in cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and most powerfully, broccoli sprouts. Here's why this is so profoundly important for aging biology. In 2019, researchers at Oregon State University, where much of the foundational sulforaphane research has been conducted, published findings showing that sulforaphane activates a master genetic switch called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as your DNA security chief. When activated, it triggers over 200 protective genes simultaneously, genes involved in detoxification, antioxidant defense, and crucially, repairing damaged DNA before it can mutate into cancer. And here's the aging-specific tragedy that makes this so urgent. NRF2 activity declines approximately 45% between ages 50 and 70. Your DNA repair system is quietly shutting down. Sulforaphane essentially wakes it back up. A landmark study from the University of Michigan found that regular consumption of sulforaphane-rich foods was associated with a 49% reduction in bladder cancer risk, a 38% reduction in prostate cancer incidence, and significant reductions in breast and lung cancer markers. And perhaps most remarkably, research from the MD Anderson Cancer Center found that sulforaphane actually targets cancer stem cells, those particularly dangerous cells that conventional chemotherapy often fails to eliminate and that are responsible for cancer recurrence. Think of cancer stem cells as the generals of an army. You can wipe out the soldiers, but if the generals survive, they'll rebuild. Sulforaphane goes after the generals. Now, here's the preparation detail most people get completely wrong. Sulforaphane isn't actually present in broccoli in its active form. It's created through a chemical reaction when you chew or chop the vegetable, activating an enzyme called myrosinase. But here's the critical catch. Cooking above 140 degrees Fahrenheit destroys myrosinase, which means fully cooked broccoli delivers very little active sulforaphane. The optimal preparation method is to chop or lightly crush your broccoli or sprouts and let them sit for 40 minutes before consuming or lightly cooking. This allows the myrosinase reaction to complete. Then, steam very lightly, no more than 3 to 4 minutes. Raw broccoli sprouts require no cooking and provide up to 50 times more sulforaphane per gram than mature broccoli florets. Aim for half a cup of raw broccoli sprouts daily, or 1 full cup of lightly steamed broccoli. Your synergy tip here is crucial. Combine your cruciferous vegetables with a small amount of raw mustard powder or fresh horseradish. Both are independently rich in active myrosinase, and adding them to cooked cruciferous vegetables effectively restores the enzyme activity that cooking destroyed, increasing sulforaphane bioavailability up to 4-fold, according to research from the Institute of Food Research in Norwich. That's number 2, and it's powerful. But what I'm about to tell you for number 1, the single highest impact daily habit for cancer prevention after 50, this is what the research has been quietly building toward, and what most preventive health conversations never reach. This is number 1. Number 1 is sleep, but not just any sleep, specifically what researchers now call oncological sleep architecture, meaning the specific quality and timing of sleep that activates your body's most powerful anti-cancer system. And the data on what happens to cancer risk when this system gets disrupted is frankly terrifying. Here's the mechanism. During deep sleep stages, slow wave sleep, stage 3 and stage 4, your brain activates the glymphatic system. This is a recently discovered waste clearance network, first described by researchers at the University of Rochester in 2012, that uses cerebrospinal fluid to literally wash away toxic proteins and cellular debris from your brain and nervous system. Think of it as a pressure washing cycle that only runs at night when the factory is closed. But the cancer connection goes far beyond brain health. During these same deep sleep phases, your body produces its highest concentrations of melatonin, not just the sleep hormone, but one of the most potent endogenous antioxidants known to science. A comprehensive review published in Oncology Reports in 2022 found that melatonin directly inhibits tumor angiogenesis, meaning it blocks the growth of new blood vessels that cancers need to expand. It also stimulates natural killer cells, the frontline soldiers of your immune system, whose specific job is identifying and destroying cancer cells before they can establish themselves. And here's the devastating aging statistic. Melatonin production drops by up to 75% between ages 40 and 70. Most people over 65 produce almost negligible amounts during sleep. Your most potent internal anti-cancer mechanism is running at a fraction of capacity. A 2020 study from the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified chronic night shift work, which disrupts sleep architecture, as a probable human carcinogen, not a risk factor, a carcinogen, the same category as certain pesticides and industrial chemicals. That's how severe sleep disruption is for cancer risk. Consider the case of Patricia, a 73-year-old retired nurse from Phoenix, Arizona, who was sleeping only 5 to 6 hours nightly with frequent awakenings. Her immune panel showed severely suppressed natural killer cell activity. She worked with a sleep medicine specialist on what they called a sleep recalibration protocol. Consistent 10 p.m. bedtime, complete darkness, room temperature lowered to 67 degrees, all screens off 90 minutes before bed, and a small serving of tart cherry juice at 8 p.m. for its natural melatonin precursors. Within 6 weeks, her sleep duration consistently reached 7.5 hours. At her 3-month follow-up, her natural killer cell count had increased by 51%. Her oncology team was amazed. She said she hadn't slept that well since her 40s. The research is clear. Adults over 60 who consistently sleep 7 to 8.5 hours nightly in dark, cool environments have cancer mortality rates up to 45% lower than those sleeping less than 6 hours, according to a 22-year cohort study from UC San Diego. This isn't a minor variable, this is the master switch. To optimize your sleep for cancer protection, do these things non-negotiably. Establish consistent bedtime and wake time, even on weekends. Your circadian rhythm doesn't take days off. Make your bedroom completely dark. Even small amounts of light suppress melatonin production. Cool your room to 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And avoid eating within 3 hours of sleep, because digestion competes with the cellular repair work your body needs to prioritize overnight. Your synergy tip for sleep. Combine sleep optimization with daily morning sun exposure from Habit 3, because morning light anchors your circadian rhythm and directly increases your nighttime melatonin production. The two habits working together create a biological environment where cancer struggles to gain a foothold. All the studies referenced throughout this video are available in peer-reviewed journals. I encourage you to read them, share them with your healthcare provider, and ask the questions your appointments often don't leave time for. Here's what I want you to hear as we close. You are not too old for prevention. The science has no age limit. Whether you're 55 or 85, whether you've had a cancer scare or never given it much thought, your body retains remarkable capacity to heal, defend, and regenerate when you give it what it needs. These 5 habits, strategic morning hydration, daily fermented foods, metabolic walking, sulforaphane-rich cruciferous vegetables, and restorative sleep, aren't exotic protocols. They're the conditions your biology was designed to thrive under. They cost almost nothing, require no prescription, and every morning you get a fresh opportunity to begin. Your independence, your quality of life, your ability to be present for the people you love, that's worth 30 minutes of walking, a glass of water, and a consistent bedtime. Don't let anyone tell you it's too late. The research says otherwise. If this video has helped you, please subscribe to this channel and share it with someone you care about. Every week we go deep on the science of aging well, and your support makes this work possible. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 habits are you going to start first? And what's been your biggest obstacle to quality sleep? Leave your answer in the comments. Every single one gets read.